Hello and welcome to another edition of Note Investing Made Easier, the weekly webinar. I want to thank everyone for taking a little bit of time and coming and joining the group. We have a very special guest, Fred Moskowitz of Liberties Management, and we will definitely be introducing him in just a moment. Just a few announcements. We have, I posted up an early sign up link for the Note Expo, which I'm going to be attending and really just look forward to meeting you there. I'm also going to be at the Distressed Mortgage Expo in New Jersey, so I hope that you're able to join there as well. There's a link, Matt Allen put on a link on the group page. I post for that as well, so please try to attend, as well as I'm going to be holding a workshop on a virtual workshop on sourcing and due diligence, August 3rd and 4th. So I hope that you can check that out if you are interested in learning where to find notes and how to vet notes. So if you're someone out there wondering where they are, well, that this workshop will be a great place to understand where to go. So without further ado, we have Fred Moskowitz on. Fred, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Martin. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great to have you. We met in 2013 when I was just starting out, and what's interesting is when most people have most people look up to people that either they're in Hollywood or they're somewhere far removed from you, and they look up to these people and kind of idolize them or what have you. For me, I've always kind of looked local for where I was seeking inspiration, where guidance, wisdom, everything. So Bill McCafferty, the whole Philly gang, and Deepta and many other folks, were definitely ones that were a big rock for me as I was getting started. So I've got to know you over the years. I've got to see and talk with you about numerous loan modifications, workouts that you've done, and just really have learned a lot from you. So it's my privilege to have you on, and I know everyone's going to get a lot from it. So welcome to the program.
That's great, Martin. Thank you. And I really appreciate that you acknowledge this phenomenon that there's a really large concentration of junior lien note investors in the Philadelphia area. And I think we can all credit Mr. Dave Van Horn for being the instigator of that and responsible for that, because that's truly what happens. And it's funny going around the country, being in other regions, and people always mention that. They say, "Oh, you guys from Philadelphia, all you guys." Well, it's all because of Dave Van Horn and what he started like 10 years ago that has resulted in that all of us are here, and there's definitely a good sized group in the area, and it's great. We see each other at different events.
Steve Lloyd's with them, Fred. Steve Lloyd's with us now, and then Iman's with us too. Iman, how are you doing? I got my Drexel hat on because we are Drexel Dragons together. But go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's another Philadelphia connection, right? Drexel University, yeah. I love your themed hats. You always come out with a good one each time you do a webinar. But it's great to be here, and look forward to having a good conversation with you over the next hour and providing some awesome content for everyone that's out there on the Note Investing Made Easy group.
Absolutely. Allie, welcome. And Brady's on here. So, Brady's a Texas guy, but and I know you guys are, all head over heels about Texas down there. But my heart's definitely in Philly, and I love that area. And so we're going to be focusing on Philly love here today for the next hour. So Fred, talk to me. You got, you have this, high-powered engineering degree from Drexel University.
Yes.
And I mean, talk about getting safe and secure job for life. What happened? What went wrong?
I started out as a young engineer working in the tech industry, and I quickly moved to working at startup companies, and we had the whole .com boom, and that was an exciting time and a wild roller coaster ride. But I quickly realized that it didn't matter what kind of a contribution I was making. It didn't matter, because in the end, if the company wasn't doing well, you're going to lose your job, and just too many factors were out of your control. So quickly I realized I needed to have other sources of income, alternative sources of income that did not have anything to do with my job. And I started out with real estate, buying and holding rental properties in Philadelphia.
Fred, let me just jump in here real quick. So here's the crossroads, right? You come to the realization this is corporate America, or this is startup America, and your job's in jeopardy all the time. So whereas 95% of the people, what they do is they turn to worry and doubt and insecurity and just keep going on. You took the 5% road to say, hey, look, this is unacceptable, or I'm going to make a move in some direction to avoid having this dependency.
Absolutely. I made a decision to take some responsibility for my future and change it and start making changes. So that's really what got me started. And it's been an exciting road. I was doing both, working as an engineer as well as investing, doing them side by side for a long time, and it was a very powerful combination of having a W-2 income offset by all these passive losses from real estate. I saw that was a very powerful combination. And now with notes, it's the same thing. Note investing is a very much a tax-generating activity. So it's always good to hold rental real estate to offset those tax liabilities, and do it in a way that makes sense for you, whether it's owning and operating the properties yourself or in partnering with others. So you're investing in someone's deal where you have ownership and the tax write-offs flow down to your tax return. Structure it in a way that works, and it's a very powerful combination, and it helps you to minimize your tax liability.
No, that's well put. It's interesting because you and I have taken similar tracks in a way, doing the landlording game, building up that portfolio, and then building up a note portfolio, kind of doing it as a one-person show over the years, and kind of just refining the process, slow build. And then now we're going to get into this in a little bit, but now you're taking that next step to grow yourself and your offering, and it's very exciting. So
yes.
And you and I talk all the time about, hey, because you self-manage properties, you self-manage your note portfolio. So so tell us about so you jump into the real estate game. How did you first learn about notes?
So I first learned about notes from some of the real old-time real estate educators, Pete Fortunato, Jack Miller, Jimmy Napier. They came through our local RIA group and did workshops multiple times. I attended all of them, and I was very fortunate to have had that opportunity. But the one thing that I took from that was from Jimmy Napier, who I'll show you this book I recommend to everyone in investing in debt.
Yeah.
This is a hardcore book. It gets into all kind of advanced topics like partials and breaking down your discount and cash flows. But Jimmy Napier,
if that book doesn't get you excited about notes, note investing is not for you. So if you need the litmus test of what, if is note investing for you, read that book. If you're not just insanely turned on, then do something else.
Yeah, it takes like 2 hours to read. But after you're done reading it, then you got to get a financial calculator and work through the examples because they really get into it. And it's good. It gives you a good, solid understanding. Because of my background, I was very in tune with the topics there. But getting back to Jimmy Napier, the thing that this was a golden nugget that I learned at the seminar I attended, which had nothing to do with notes. It was about negotiating. It was a weekend-long class about negotiating. But Jimmy Napier just made a side comment that when you're just getting started out in investing and you don't really have any capital, you don't have much money, the best way to get started is to buy and hold rental real estate and do that over several years, and you'll build up a good amount of profit and capital. And then once you have a good chunk of that built up, then take that and reinvest it into notes. And then you're going to be able to skyrocket your returns than what you would have been able to do if you left that money and equity in the real estate. So I did exactly that. When I was first starting in notes, it was at a time where I could get lines of credit on rental properties, and that was my funding source. I started buying notes and working them, buying non-performing notes, and that really is what got me started. And that was one of those things where you attend a seminar and you hear some golden nugget that has nothing to do with what the topic was about, but it totally gives you a mind shift, and it's had a tremendous result for me, tremendous impact, really has.
And so on that, did you go negative on the cash flow for the property itself? I know overall you were positive because you bought notes with the money. But on the when you took out a second mortgage, on a rental property, was your overall cash flow negative or positive? Just curious if you remember offhand.
I don't remember specifically. I think it fluctuated a lot, and
okay.
I was always putting money back into the properties to improve them and all.
I'm killing your flow.
My cash flow would shift around a lot. Yeah.
So tell me about notes. Your progression. You start buying. Obviously, you're with Dave Van Horn and his insanely popular and well respected group. And so you learn from the best. And where do you go from your learning with Jimmy Napier and these folks and Dave Van Horn's program?
Absolutely. We really had a lot of activity. People I've met in the local area, we had organized meetings that we would meet once a month. That went on for several years. And Carl Fisher at CAMA used to let us use the training room at his office for us to go and meet. I mean, it was great. So we did that for a few years to help keep networking going, and we were doing deals among us for quite some time. After a while, that kind of broke up, but there's still a core group of all of us. We meet informally either one-on-one or quarterly as a group, or maybe just twice a year, however it ends up to be. And we do that. Networking is really important from the standpoint of getting your head in the right place, getting out of your own way. You can't sit in your office all the time and not have interaction with people. I think it's a little detrimental. So it is important to get out, go to conferences, attend events. They don't necessarily have to do anything with notes. There's plenty of business ones as well that you can attend about marketing, about tax strategies, about building systems, about building training, all sorts of events where you can go and meet and network with other entrepreneurs. I think is very important. But over time, really it's about, in the note business, about building relationships, networking with people. We're in a small, close-knit community. Everyone knows each other. Mm-hmm. So over time, you tend to build those relationships, and you can do deals on a handshake and wire someone money and be comfortable with it, because you know who you're dealing with, right? You know who you're dealing with. You have a past history, so that's really great.
So I see multiple levels of discipline, in what you're saying, and I think this is important for everyone to kind of pick up on. The first is that you have the discipline to build a schedule for yourself where you're working almost in isolation, and you're performing whatever it is, due diligence or the workouts or portfolio management, and you're getting those files moving, in other words. And the other discipline is that you are structuring your day where you're doing outreach to go and build the relationships. And then the third component I see is that you're progressing your training in various areas.
Yes, absolutely. I think from the aspect of training, I consider myself always a student. I'm a lifelong student. There's always things you can learn. I don't think anyone ever has said to someone else, hey, your negotiation skills are too good. They're over the top. You better tone that down a little bit, right? It's not like that at all. There's always room for improvement, whether it's negotiating, whether it's getting involved with Toastmasters to learn how to do public speaking and communication, whether it's taking a class about advanced tax strategies, which you can use to structure your business. There's always areas to learn, to hone your skills and improve your system and improve your business. So it's really important not to get comfortable with those skills, and always be looking to develop them. What's next? What can I improve upon? And working into your plan. Absolutely. I try to attend 3 or 4 of those type of trainings or events per year. I mean, I budget for that and plan for that, whether it's something local or something I have to travel to. Set aside some money and some time for yourself, investing in yourself. It's the most important investment you can make. It really is.
Well, Fred, I'm going to get to one question, and then I want to progress the interview. Greg Cook writes this question, and then also too, I want to welcome Lauren Combs to the program. Bobby Sharma, always great to see you, brother. You're my brother on the West Coast now, and Bob, good to have you on, and Brandon and Jonathan. Hey, good to see you. We got to do lunch, and Robert as well. Always great to see you. So we have Greg Cook writing that how much does it take to get started? And we hear this question quite often. But please.
Yeah, there's definitely not a set number. To get started though with note investing, I would recommend buying several notes. Don't buy one. I would buy 3, 4, or more, up till 10 if you can. and that will give you a good cross-section of deals to work with and good exposure to learn from. And I understand that not everyone may be in a financial position to buy 10 notes at once, but buy several. Definitely don't buy one, because they don't always work out. And if you buy the one that is not going to do well, that can be very discouraging to someone that's just getting started. So that's my recommendation. I don't have a set amount, but definitely buy multiple notes at first. And if you don't have a lot, you can buy smaller value notes, whether they're a little more banged up or have a lower value on them. They're out there, so definitely you can seek that out.
Yeah, so my response is, when I get asked this quite often, how much to get started, and the answer is always the same. It's how much time do you have in your day, and really the more time you have to devote towards sweat, the less capital you'll need out of pocket. And there's no dollar amount other than I know someone who's put out about $10,000, but they're hitting it full time, and they've gone through strong educational training. They're reading the books, they're doing the outreach, and they're making a lot of progress. But then I know others that have several $100,000 that come into it, and they're just they're having a little more difficulty because they may have less time. So it really just depends on the situation, and there's no perfect answer. But Fred, let's get back to things, because so you've built this portfolio of real estate, built this portfolio of notes, and you're experiencing good tax advantages. You're seeing growth. However, at what point do you say, I need to do more, I need to be more, I need to grow to more?
Yeah, absolutely. That has happened in the last year. I have transitioned to setting up a.
And Matt Kelly just joined us, Fred. So watch what you say.
Yeah. So I've set up a fund, and using that to really grow and take things to the next level. Being able to leverage my skills, my abilities, and my relationships, and take the business to another level. But really, it's always exciting to be growing and expanding business.
So what's interesting, this isn't well put, but you kind of grew into this the right way from how I'm seeing it. You started out with the landlording, into real estate. You were leveraging equity in the properties to buy notes. You built your own note portfolio, and you became proficient. And from that point, you said, well, let me do this for more people at a higher level and grow this into something more special. Is that kind of the gist of it?
Yes, absolutely. So with the fund, what I'm trying to do is to provide provide access to investors that are interested in note investing, but either they don't have the time or the skills or experience in this business. However, it gives them an opportunity to participate, whether it's because, as I said, because they don't have the time, or because they need a passive participation due to self-directed IRA rules and those type of things. And I really enjoy another thing, Martin. I really enjoy teaching people about self-directed IRA accounts and Roth IRAs and HSAs and all the different skills to utilize them. I mean, I always tell people it's essential, get a Roth IRA and start funding it, because that is like the biggest gift the government ever has given to the American public. And I'm always fearing that at some point the government is going to look at that and target it to phase it out because they gave away too much when they set that up. And really, the reason for that is with a Roth IRA, the money goes in taxed, but you don't get taxed withdrawing that. So all those profits grow and they're not being subject to any tax. And if there's some really powerful techniques you can use to grow those IRA accounts, Roth IRA accounts, astronomically. So I'm always afraid that at some point the government's going to come and target that because they need to raise revenue. And what they would likely do, they wouldn't take away the accounts, but they'll grandfather them in if they already exist. That's why I tell people, open that Roth IRA, put a little money into it, and at least have it so that you're grandfathered in moving forward, and you have that vehicle available to use. But in addition to that, there's HSAs, which if you are a entrepreneur and you're paying for your own health insurance, I encourage you to learn about HSAs and get yourself structured so that you can utilize it. Because they start out small, but again, you can grow that thing really nice. I just bought a partial, performing note partial in my HSA just a couple of weeks ago and got that wrapped up. So, I'm trying to do that as well.
Let's just backtrack because for those that I want you to almost say it again. Your HSA health savings account and how do you go from the an HSA to what you just said?
So HSAs are health savings accounts. They allow you to contribute about $6,000 per year, and it's tax deductible, that contribution. You have to have a high deductible health plan, so there's rules around that. You have your high deductible health plan along with that, and they work together. But you can keep funding HSA, and if you have it as self-directed custodian, you can utilize that for any self-directed type of investment. You can buy notes, you can buy performing note, you can buy partial, you can buy real estate, you can do hard money lending, any of those things, right? It's very similar rules to what you can do in a self-directed IRA or Roth IRA account. So that's really it. It's just an extension of the other self-directed accounts that are there that has some nuances. But I encourage people to take the time to learn about them if you think they might be right for you. And I'm happy to provide any more in-depth information or questions afterwards. I don't want to get into it too much because it can get complicated. But
Fred, put your contact information in the comments section after we get wrapped up, and then people can reach out to you. That'd be great. Yeah. So Brady has a question. What's your note buying criteria?
My note buying criteria, it really varies. I will say this: it depends on what's being offered, and really depends on whether a pool is involved, because the way pools are trading, there's going to be a mixed bag of assets in there, and you have to take what you want and what you don't want as well. So either you deal with that. I'm definitely getting to what I see now is you have to take assets you don't want. So you can't. I'm not buying on one loan level where I can have hard criteria to go by. You just look at a pool. You have to assign values to things that you want and assign values to things that you don't want, much less, of course. And through your network of contacts, you can either find someone that buys that type of note or product, or you can shelve it and come back to it later, which is something I tend to do more of. But criteria really, just in broad terms, I want the note to be secured by real estate and nationwide and residential. That's really what we focus on. First position, second position is okay. Third position is okay as well.
So Fred, I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah.
I would almost venture to say, like, I think you're probably on the same page with me, but, you know, years past, there was a lot more cherry picking opportunity. So you could really set buying parameters. And, you know, for me, it was always, my sweet spot was 15K to 40K seconds with partial equity. And, you know, I avoided 5 states, buying in 5 states, and that, you know, I could kind of just lay my criteria out and then, you know, cherry pick all day long. Right now, where it's at, it's a lot of all or nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, you have to assign the values and you know, build the pricing matrix for yourself, and just yeah, everything needs to be taken down, and you need to do something with everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it really comes down more to what it is you're interested in, and use that to value the notes in your own way. And the notes that don't meet your criteria, you can value them in a lower amount. That's all. And a lot of times, if you park the notes and come back to them in the future, things change. People's circumstances either get better and improve, or get worse. But that's what happens. And then you can come back in the future, take a second look, and reassess what's going to happen and what your strategy will be for those assets the ones that didn't originally meet your criteria.
So was that another reason why you know, set up a fund for yourself, was because you saw that there was a lot of all or nothing tapes out there? That was the wave of the future?
Well, they've been around for as long as I've been in the business. Those type, it really is those larger trades where you're seeing that. I think that's always been around since even when I got started in this business. Yeah.
Yeah, it was always there, but there was a lot more cherry picking. And so now with, tell me about your fund. Do you have like a certain amount capital raise that you're pushing right now?
Yeah, I don't want to get into too many details about the fund, but it's yeah, we're raising capital and talking to investors, and really it's really exciting. I can see that there's a lot of investors that are interested to participate in something that's not tied to the stock market. So it really, they welcome the opportunity. And it's very rewarding for me to be able to leverage my skills and abilities and relationships that I've built to really take business to the next level.
And are you? I mean, are you seeing it's progressing well for you right now as it stands, without you know, going into any specific?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
And so, tell me about some of the, you know, events that you see value in the note space.
Yeah, the events. There are many. I feel that going to events, whether they're in the note investing or just investing in general, it's again, it comes back to that budgeting some of your time and your money to invest in yourself. But I'll mention a few. There's the Distressed Mortgage Expo and Paper Source and IMN events. I know that traveled down to Florida in the middle of the winter and hung out with you. And Deepta was in Florida. It was very nice in the middle of like February. It was great networking, right? To sit down and meet people and talk with other investors. There's not really any monetary value from that, except it just helps to build those relationships, and you can get a good feel for what's going on in this business, in this industry, in this space, as well as learning from people. Sometimes you walk into a room and sit down, and based on what the conversation is going on, you realize that it's time to remember that you have 2 ears and one mouth, and take in what you can from the conversation. But it's very important to get out there and meet people. We're really in a small, close-knit community, and those relationships are everything.
It's a tight-knit community.
Whether it's in positive or negative, whatever you do, it's going to follow you. So keep that in mind.
But it's a tight-knit community, yes, and on one hand, but there's a lot of people that you and I see come in and exit, within a year or something like that. I mean, every year you see a new, and I say that my hope would be everyone that comes in is looking for something more, right? Like you, looking for security from a job, looking for better life, better lifestyle, whatever. And a majority of the people that come in, they leave. So I think that it's good if someone comes in and they want to test the waters, to look at a fund like yourself, what you put together, because you do know what you're doing, and you will be a good steward of their money, and find good deals and pay the returns you say you're going to pay and all that. And then maybe just kind of see how things progress that way as a start for some. And then other people need the action, to dive in. But I think that people really want to brainstorm when they first come in, how active they're going to be and how they're going to position themselves for success.
Absolutely. And I will say another thing. Everyone that's an investor, if you have a self-directed account, self-directed IRA, Roth IRA, HSA, you need deals to invest in, and they can't be yours, and they can't be anything you're involved in, right? So what do all of us do? We all do deals with each other. We buy notes from each other. I just bought a partial in my HSA from another note investor. We sell notes to each other so that they can have them in their self-directed accounts. So you end up having these financial friends, right? There's no IRS doesn't allow me to take a note that I got performing and then buy it into my IRA. Buy it in my IRA. I can't do that if it was for my company, but I could sell it to you, and you can buy it in your IRA. And then in the next month, you can turn around and sell me a performing note from your entity, and I'll buy it in my IRA. You can do that all day long. And that's really part of the strength of these relationships, and keeping your capital in play at all times. So I just wanted to highlight that, and I want people to really think about that. You should always be sure to be leveraging your capital that you have available.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about networking and building relationships. Well, there's nothing like doing deals and extending cash flow opportunities to each other than, for building relationship purposes. There's nothing better. So Brady writes, do you have any one-off first positions you want to offload? And he says, never hurts to ask.
No, I don't, but never. You're right. It never hurts to ask, and they come up all the time, right?
Well, we should send Brady to FCI, FCI loan MLS. I'm sure they probably have a few hundred there.
And what about all those second position notes that you've acquired that ended up being first? But
I think we need to.
Right?
We should have Brady. We should get Brady on here and beat him up. Why he thinks first are better than seconds.
I like both. I mean,
yeah, I do too.
Make out well with both. There's different nuances between first and second, but you're not going to get me into an argument about which one's better. They're both good. You can make money with both. And it really comes down to, do you have a good opportunity to acquire a pool of notes and what's in there, and can you handle the pool and work the assets, right? Whether they're first or whether they're seconds, there's just nuances between them. That's all. But you can make a good return either way.
And do you just buy institutional paper in the fund?
Yes.
Okay, and then first and seconds, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah, so what is, do you have like, kind of your service package that you have for the fund, how you communicate with people, the investors? Do you have kind of, a marketing pitch for that at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a quarterly update report that we send out and keep everyone informed, the investors informed about what's going on, what acquisitions there's been, and any ongoing news. But definitely, and my investors call me. I'm very accessible. If they have questions or want to know about what's going on. So, there's definitely the accessibility as well that people like. It's a personal touch, and a lot of folks appreciate that.
Yeah, and hey, Fuquan, he's joining us here. So
hello, Fuquan. Yeah.
So I didn't realize this. Fuquan had studied under Dave Van Horn as well.
Yes, absolutely. He did, and I met him about maybe a year or two after I started notes. But yeah, he was definitely part of that original group from about 10 years ago.
Yeah. It's talk about someone, and Fuquan, we'll talk about you for a minute, someone who's known how to see ahead, 12 months ahead of the curve and adjust his business strategy accordingly to stay current, stay relevant, stay profitable. It's really something else. It's a book in the making on, how Fuquan has that, how he's done that with his business model.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important to be able to adapt to changing market conditions. And for those of us that have been in this space for a while, know that things are not the same. Things change. There's market cycles. They go up and down. And you have to be adaptable. It's very important to be able to adapt to changing market conditions and see where things are going and try to use that to your advantage and get ahead of the curve. But if you're of the mindset that you're doing things your way and that's it, and you don't change, you're going to quickly get stuck because it's not practical. It's not practical. And those of us that have been in real estate for a long time know this. There's market cycles. They last about 10 years. and with real estate and property values. And then in the financial area, that's a separate market cycle as well, with lending and interest rates and availability of credit, tightening and loosening of standards. There's a lot of dynamics there. It's very complex, but that's what causes mortgages to be available on the secondary market and impacts defaults going up and down over time.
Yeah, and I think to that point too, whether whatever point the market cycle's at, it just your results depend on how much outreach you're doing, how many relationships you're building, how many people you're touching, how you're accessible, what's your integrity like, and all those things. If you're just hitting it hard, that you will cast a wide net and you will see deal flow, through the good times and bad.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've heard countless times about note investors that put in bids and make offers, and then they don't close. They didn't buy the assets, and it gets offered to me, and I look at it, and I end up buying the asset and doing well with those notes. And then I wonder what was it that caused this other investor to back out and not move ahead. But whatever it was, the matter is that they probably got blacklisted from being able to buy notes from that seller after doing that. The last thing that you want to do is get to the point where you make a bid and it gets accepted, and it comes time for you to fund, and you got to wire that money within the next day, right? And you got to be ready to move and not hesitate. And when you do that time after time, that's where you'll be in a good standing with note sellers, and they'll come to you when a deal fell apart from someone else. They'll come to you with that and see if you're interested to take down the trade. I mean, it happens pretty often. I'm surprised to see that, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, and you'll never really know the true reason, why someone had rejected it or couldn't pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. But the more you pull the trigger, the more that you're happy to pull the trigger at the point you make the buy, because you have confidence in what you're buying. Whereas someone who may not have full confidence, they're going to be reluctant and hesitant, and it's going to result in bad relationships, blacklisting.
Yeah.
Which does happen, and I don't know if that's something that someone has to kind of grow into. It also depends on what backgrounds. It's kind of interesting to me because I see a lot of new people come in the space, and what is their background coming into the space? I think for myself, I came in as a business owner and started building a company in 2004, and then really just kind of hit the ground more in 2006. So I came to the note space as a landlord and as a small business operator. So that's all I kind of knew, is that hustle of making payroll and everything else. And so I treated the note industry like a business, versus someone who may not have the small business background. They may come in and treat it more like a hobby, or more like, they're just more disorganized perhaps as a result.
Yes. Or less focused.
Yeah. So,
yeah, but I would say for someone getting started, I mean, it's really important, get your systems set up, and if you have good guidance, you can have someone look over what you're doing, your processes, your systems, and utilize them. And one piece of advice that I have is, when you get stuck and you're doing a note deal and whether it's a workout or an acquisition or due diligence, and you get stuck, always come back to best practices, basic principles and best practices, break it down and attack it from that perspective. And usually that's going to help you to get unstuck pretty quickly. I've found that when I've made mistakes or I've gone astray on something or a deal didn't go well and I look back at it, it's because I strayed from best practices for whatever reason, or I didn't follow my process. And that helped reinforce the importance of that. Really is. You go ahead and try to do a workout and skip getting the borrower financials because they didn't want to provide it to you. It ends up coming back to bite you later. So if that's part of your process, stick with that. And that's what I found when I've strayed from those processes is where things didn't always go so well.
So when you're getting the loan modification, you're trying to button it up tight. You want to be listed as added insurer. You want to make sure the documents notarized. You want to make sure that first payment goes to the servicer. You get a money order. You want to make sure everything's just the package is there in full because it shows the commitment with the borrower.
It does for there's a lot of reasons. Absolutely, that's one piece of it. It shows that the borrower's committed to the workout, and you're going to have a strong workout. If you just slap something together and you don't have a good borrower commitment, you might get the workout done, but 3 months later, you're going to see redefault again, and that's the last thing you want, right? So it really helps to set you up well for success.
Well, this segue, you just teed it up. So workout. So tell me about your daily rituals. I know you're a workout fanatic, but tell me. I need to know because I need to get this place to me. I'm on a health kick as of like a week. So
okay, great,
Fred, talk to me. What are you doing on a daily basis?
So as entrepreneurs, we need to have a lot of energy so that we can be focused, we can feel good, we can put in a long day when we need to, right? It's about having that energy, being good in a good positive mindset. So in order to do that, you have to take care of yourself and have a healthy mindset, right? With exercise, eating well. So you're asking for some of my rituals, and this is not for everyone, right? It's just what I do, what works for me. I train in a CrossFit gym, and it's like 4 times a week. It's pretty intense. Everything's structured, which works well for me because I just show up and someone has programmed a plan for what you do that day. That model really works well for me. But it doesn't matter. The main thing is consistency, right? Do whatever you do, whether you go for a walk for 1 hour a day, do that every day. Start your morning with it and eat healthy. I'm really to a point where when I don't eat well, I feel it immediately. I don't feel well. My body reacts, and I can tell. So that's good. That's the point where your body is in a good state, and it's going to send you those signals when you ate a meal that wasn't the best thing for you. You
so
really
after our last dinner where we had pizza and beer, that was probably not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. You can't. I think it's not realistic to say you're never going to have pizza and beer, right? But minimize it. And then when you do go out and have it, enjoy it, and that's fine, right? You don't have to go out on any kind of a binge or anything, but minimize it. For someone getting started, here's some good advice. Try to add in fresh food in every meal. Fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Add them in every meal. If you do that and don't take away anything else, and make sure that every single meal you have a couple servings of fresh fruits and vegetables, that's going to do a huge impact for most people, because of all the processed foods and all the sugars and processed starches that people consume that's really not good for you. What's wrong with adding a fresh salad in every single, every meal, every opportunity you can? Don't worry about taking away anything, but just start with that, right? If nothing else, have fresh vegetables with every meal, which, for some people that's going to be a big change, big difference, but do that and do it consistently. That's best way to get started.
Thanks, Fred.
Yeah.
So I have to turn it back to the note theme here. So if you're going to buy a bad batch of notes, make sure there's a few good ones in every batch.
Yes, absolutely.
So that way you get the taste of the good ones, and then you stop buying the bad ones. Oh, Fred. So it's been, we have to wrap up now, but I tell you, I've had a blast here, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Steve Lloyd's Mastermind. And we're going to do dinner Wednesday night. Perhaps pizza and beer again. Who knows? But anyway, please put your contact information there. So if anyone wants to reach out to your website to get more information on your fund,
absolutely,
they can do that. And Fred, always a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you for being on the program.
Thank you for having me, Martin. It's been a great discussion, and look forward to seeing you soon. And I'm sure I'll also see you at the Distressed Mortgage Expo coming up in September, which is not too far away.
Absolutely,
so another great event. I encourage people to check out and attend if you can. There's good networking and good content for sure.
Yeah. Karen just jumped on late. She's going to be at Steve Lloyd's Mastermind. So Karen, shout out to you. You're doing great work over there, and I look forward to really getting to know you, because you and I have not really connected in person, much as of yet. So this is great stuff. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful mastermind group next week. I encourage everyone to go to DME, like Fred just said, as well as I'm going to check out the Note Expo. It's my first time going, but I've heard wonderful things about it. And thanks everyone for joining, and God bless.
Thank you.